Hey guys, welcome back to an impressions video here to talk about Doom 2016 or Doom 4 as some people call it. Basically the latest entry in the Doom series, a game that I've been meaning to talk about for some time, but I'm lagging behind on my impressions videos. So anyways, I'm finally here able to talk about this fantastic game. And let me just say right off the bat that if you guys enjoy first-person shooters and you haven't played this game yet, you can just stop watching this video right now and just go to your nearest retail store, Best Buy, Walmart, GameStop, and just buy this game, whatever the price is, because what you're seeing here is one of the best first-person shooter games of all time, one of the most fun games, and one of the most well-designed first-person shooter games that you'll encounter. We're truly, like, I guess, blessed in the sense that in this generation we had a lot of old school franchises have really good games, such as the two Wolfenstein games that we have out there, and now with Doom, which are, you know, classic first-person shooter franchises that thankfully Bethesda has done a fantastic job in bringing up the quality to the standards that fans want. And Doom 2016 one was in my top 5 games of last year, and it was really hard choosing my number 1, which I ended up going with The Last Guardian on the PS4. But as I mentioned on my top 10 or my top games of 2016, any of those games in the top 5 could have made it to the number 1 spot, and Doom 2016 is obviously in that list. Now, as far as the story, this is almost like a remake, reimagining of the previous Doom games. It's a little bit confusing as far as where the story falls, and you know, the lore. I was surprised actually at how the fans have different theories. I have a live stream that I did on Doom. It's on my channel, and if you guys go through it, you know, there were 2 people, random people that are not subscribers of my channel, that just happened to jump into my live stream on YouTube, and they were like huge Doom fans, and they were arguing, you know, back and forth with each other as far as, you know, the lore, where this game falls in the timeline and things like that. I did not know that, you know, it went that deep. You know, I'm a pretty big fan of the Doom games, but I'm not, I guess, that big of a fan in terms of, you know, knowing where the story goes and, you know, what the lore and the exact order of the games and what the fan fiction says and things like that. And these guys were just arguing back and forth while I was playing the game, so it was kind of fun, or funny, to see how they differed and how much passion the Doom community has. But focusing on Doom 2016 here on my impressions video, the story is, you know, Earth is lacking energy sources, which is why this particular lab or research facility on Mars has been opening portals to extract more energy from hell. And as part of that, they were able to, like, get this sarcophagus, which happens to have the Doomslayer, the Doom Marine, if you will. And things go wrong, and this AI, or this engineer, the one that lead the charge, releases the Doomslayer from the sarcophagus to put things into order and to seal that portal to hell. And you know, that's basically the story. Your goal is to basically close that gateway to hell. And you know, you being the Doomslayer, of course, you're the most badass person out there. The one thing that I had with Doom 2, and more specifically Doom 3, was it was almost like had a horror element. You know, it was very dark. You had your flashlight. It was almost like the game was trying to give you a horror feel to it. Doom 4 or Doom 2016 is completely different. You actually feel like a badass. There's nothing to be afraid of because you are the Doomslayer, and even though you have enemies coming from you left and right, you actually feel like almost like a superhero. The fact that you can move so fast, jump so high, and things like that, the game is just fantastic to play, and that's where I want to focus. Before I get into the gameplay, just graphically, I think the game looks fantastic. The lighting effects in this game, the textures are very detailed, the character models are very detailed. I think this game looks fantastic, but what really makes this game stand out from a technical point of view is the frame rate. Despite having a fantastic graphics, the game runs at a buttery smooth. I think it's 60 frames per second. I never perceived any drops in frame from my playthrough through the game. So in that regard, props to id Software for figuring out how to make this game flow so smooth, and that's what makes this game like look and play so much better than any other first-person shooter. Just the floatiness, the fastness, the smoothness of the gameplay definitely bumps the gameplay quality up and the graphical quality up. So in that regard, major props to id Software for figuring out how to do that. So the graphics in this game, fantastic. The character models and everything. The soundtrack is another fantastic area of the game, and the sound in general. The game has very good voice acting. There's a lot of voice acting in this game actually, with Samuel Hayden, which is that mastermind or engineer that communicates with you back and forth. He kind of like guides you through the game, tells you what you need to do and things like that. So the voice acting, in my opinion, is pretty well done, and the soundtrack in this game is absolutely amazing. You have this industrial like metal combined with some like techno. It's really hard to explain, but the soundtrack in this game is absolutely fantastic and a very nice, I guess, throwback to the original Doom games, which this may not be like straight on like metal or anything like that, but the way they redid all the songs in this game is just fantastic, and in my opinion, it was a joy to play the game and listening to the soundtrack. As far as the gameplay, which is where the meat and potatoes of the game, that's where the game shines, in my opinion. Well, actually, the game shines. I thought the story was excellent. I thought the graphics were excellent. I thought the soundtrack and the songs itself were excellent, and the gameplay is excellent as well. So that's why I'm saying this is one of the best first-person shooters out there. But as far as the gameplay, as I mentioned, the fact that you can move so fast, so quickly, is very smooth. The gunplay in this game is absolutely amazing. Of course, you have your typical weapons like the shotgun, where you can just use to blow the brains out of your enemies. You have different types of weapons, rocket launchers. You have the BFG, obviously makes an appearance later in the game. You have a chainsaw, which is kind of like a melee close range weapon that you can use, and you do have fuel that you have to recharge, but it's pretty cool. If you use the chainsaw, you can get a lot of ammo out of the enemies you kill. So there's a strategy element as far as what weapon to use. You have plasma rifles, you have sniper rifles in this game. Just an overall arsenal of weapons that you can carry all at the same time. None of that only 2 weapons at one time bullshit like Call of Duty or Battlefield. This is Doom. Everything is to the max ridiculousness here. You can carry a million weapons with you. You also have grenades and other weapon or side weapons, if you will, or gadgets that you can use to aid in the combat. And the way the combat in this game works is, for the most part, the areas are pretty big. They're basically like arenas that you walk in, and then you get attacked by enemies from all over the place, and it's really fun. This game encourages you to run and not hide. You just have to be on the run at all times, jumping from platform to platform, and using pillars or columns maybe to avoid the projectiles from enemies for one split second. But you have to keep moving. You have to keep running in this game, and that's the fun part of the game. How active the game is, how dynamic the combat in this game is. It's just absolutely fantastic. Very different from most shooters out there, where they encourage you to take cover, wait for the right opportunity, and then you come out of cover and you shoot people. Very, very different. This game is all about being dynamic. It's about being on your toes at all times, which is something really, really fun. As far as another thing that I really liked about the gameplay, it's the progression in this game. There's a lot of collectibles, there's a lot of unlockables, and there's always a feeling of progression with your character as far as the finding the secret areas in the game. You can find upgrades for your weapons. Each weapon has like 2 different modes that you can toggle. For example, your shotgun has like a more powerful gadget that you can attach to it. It consumes more ammo every time you shoot, but nevertheless, it's a good alternative to have. Like explosive shells, for example. If you face a tough enemy, you have to use those. Then your rocket launcher has like a special gadget that locks on into the targets or the enemies, which is pretty useful for some of the enemies, and things like that. So as you progress through the game and you get to the secret areas, you find all these collectibles and upgrades for your weapons and also for your soldier. You can upgrade your armor to have more health. You can upgrade other parts of your armor and things like that, so there's a progression in there as well. And finally, there's the rune trials, which are kind of like separate challenges that you find on each day, and after you beat each rune trial, you get like a special perk for your character. Like I don't know, like for example, one of the perks is if you kill an enemy, this enemy will drop more health or drop more ammo. So it's very important to try to complete these rune trials, which by the way, they're pretty challenging. Some of them are pretty challenging, and they will require you to play them over and over again until you actually beat the trials. But the rewards are very worth it, in my opinion, and the perks that you get from them are very worth it. So this game has this, I guess, progression and feel that as the game progresses, you find more new weapons, you find more attachments, you upgrade your armor and things like that. You actually feel like you're improving and you're just a better, more powerful soldier or character. Of course, the enemies in as the game progresses also, they improve, but they improve in such a way that it's fun, if you will. Like the cyber demon gets, for example, introduced towards the end of the game, and he's like obviously this huge enemy. There's a lot of enemies that come back from the previous game, which is pretty cool, a pretty cool nod. And the enemies are pretty smart. They're pretty aggressive. So you have, like I said, you have to be on the move at all times, and it's just fun to watch or fun to play against the enemies, because a lot of them, they shoot projectiles. Some of them they melee, or they prefer a melee fight. So sometimes you have to be prepared for a close encounter. Sometimes you have to have a weapon that it's good for long range. So you have to be switching weapons constantly in this game. So if you have a couple of brutes following you, you have to have your shotgun handy just to either push them away or kill them. And then you have to switch quickly again, because you may have enemies from far away shooting projectiles at you. So there's a lot of just changes as you fight and shoot enemies, which is fantastic. And then finally we have the level design, which is superb in this game. One recommendation that I have is that you guys get the I forgot what it's called, but it's one of the upgrades for your armor or your soldier. The ability to have the being able to see the secret areas in your map in the game as early as possible. So I highly recommend that you upgrade that first. That way you can see what the secret areas in the games are, what the collectibles are. That way you can get all the collectibles, and not only that, but explore all the levels as they are meant to be explored. So that's one recommendation that I have, because this game, as far as the level design, it really encourages the player to look at the map. These are not linear maps like in the Call of Duty or Battlefield games where you go from point A to point B. These are huge maps that have sometimes 2 or 3 doors that you can access at the same time. So you have to like go back and forth areas in the game. You have to look at your map very, very frequently in this game to figure out what's going on or where to go next. And that's something that I really appreciate. It definitely, the game has this old school feel that I really appreciate. And of course, other things that make this game old school feel, for example, the aiming. There's no looking through iron sights in this game. Everything is like from the hip, basically. There are some gadgets that you can add an iron sight and look through the iron sight when you push the L2 button, but for the most part, you just move your stick and push the R2 button to shoot, and that's it. Very old school. and there's no regen health, or there's not even partial regen health like in the Wolfenstein games. This game, straight up, you have to find medikits, or you have to defeat enemies, and sometimes they drop a little bit of health. So that will keep you on your toes, and definitely give you that taste of old school first-person shooter gameplay. But overall, this is a very lengthy game. It'll take you. The game was designed to take over 13 hours. The game has 13 chapters. It was released on May 13. Yeah, you get the idea here. The whole Doom and Hell references, and it's amazing. So the game will take you over 13 hours to beat, which is pretty lengthy for a first-person shooter, but you will be having a ton of fun playing this game. Highly recommended. Even if you guys don't enjoy first-person shooters, just give this game a try. Nowadays you can get this game for very cheap, so make sure you give Doom 2016 a try, because this is definitely one of the best first-person shooter games of all time, and definitely a game that I will remember very fondly. Now, to close this in, there's a multiplayer component which I haven't really delved too much into it, but it's pretty cool that they added that. I'm not really sure how active the community is. I'm not really sure. This game has been released for over a year now, I think. So it'll be interesting to see how well the community is keeping up with that. And speaking of community, this game also has a level creator type of tool in the game, which is I thought that was really cool, where you can create your own Doom level, and you can upload that and share it with other people, and you can download those levels and play the game. So as far as replay value, yes, this is a game that focuses on single player, but there's multiplayer, and there's a create a level tool in the game, which extends the replay value to this game to like an infinite level, if you will. So overall, this game is fantastic. If you guys don't have this game on your PS4 or your Xbox One or your PC, just buy it. I don't care if you like first-person shooters or not. Give this game a shot, because it's definitely one of the staple games as far as first-person shooters go. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all later.